Welcome. I'm your host, Santa Claus, and this is Bullish, coming to you from our brand new SC Wealth Corp booth here on the 47th floor of YTech Tower in downtown Hart, Area 18. This is the show where we are going to discuss all things cargo hauling, commodities, and trading. If you can throw it in the back of a ship and sell it, we're going to talk about it. There are some glaring storm walls in the room that need to be addressed. First, the financial experts were right about the second economic crash. Fortunately, or unfortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, it happened almost mere weeks after the first one, which some people like, some people hate. The good news is that it was nowhere near as bad as initially predicted. So all of you that hunkered down and are hiding out, it's time to come back and bring life back to the economy. The second massive story that we need to discuss is the recent return of Xenothreat into the Stanton system near Microtech area. We here at arccorpmediaco want to wish the Navy and all of you CDF volunteers out there luck. Stay safe. And for any of you cargo haulers that want to get involved and help out, there is a big need for some logistical support. So head out there, be safe, head out there and help your local Navy push back the Xenothreat. We've got a jammed packed show tonight and I cannot wait to get into it. But first, let's hear from our big sponsor, SC Wealth Corp. See, SC Wealth Corp isn't just a financial investment firm that gives out aUEC and helps your companies grow. They strive to link you with other like-minded individuals. They care about your success. They care about your company, regardless if it's a business, personal, or whatever it is, they care about you. They really are trying to foster a sense of community. So I encourage you, stop the grind, find a community.
This episode of Bullish is brought to you by our good friends at SC Wealth Corp. Stop the grind, find a community. At SC Wealth Corp, you will find a vast variety of events with massive rewards, huge lottery-sized giveaways, and the unique casino. So come hang out, try your luck, and win some Alpha UEC, but more importantly, find a solid community. They offer 1 million Alpha UEC just for joining the Discord channel. That's right, no strings attached, just join the Discord channel. And for those wishing to skip the grind, they offer safe, risk-free Alpha UEC purchase options, so you can jump straight into the Star Citizen action. SC Wealth Corp. Stop the grind. Find a community. Link to the Discord is below in the description.
From our origins in the North Block of New Junction on Low in the Coral System to our recently opened flagship store at Orison and Stanton, Cousin Crow's Custom Craft have seen it all. We first made headlines around the verse in 2942 when we modified an old Genesis Starliner into the ultimate party ship. Not long after, Drake Interplanetary partnered with us to create the Kraken Privateer, and in 2944 Crusader Industries called upon us to offer customer-specified official conversions for branded Starliners, offering a wide selection of component upgrades as well as our Galaxy-famous custom paint jobs. Cousin Crows can upgrade ships and vehicles of any size or shape. If you're bored with the mundane, then come to us and change your game. We've come a long way since those early days in North Block, but we like August, Dumbo, and Crusader, never forgotten where we came from. Fly with flair and flavor, whether it's your transport or your home. We have everything you need to make your ship or vehicle truly your own. Cousin Crow's is located on Orison's Providence Industrial Platform in the atmosphere of Crusader in the Stanton system. So come on down and watch us in action. Cousin Crow's, so much fun. It shouldn't be legal.
Welcome back. This is Bullish, where we talk about all things cargo hauling, commodities, and trading. If you can throw it in the back of a ship and sell it, we are going to discuss it. Let's jump straight into it. So with a lot of companies being hammered due to this economic downturns, now is really the time to start fresh with your books, your ledgers out there. So scrub all those stats, the old data that no longer applies at all. If you had a ship that got repoed, line it out, whatever you got, let's start fresh. So what should you be tracking in your ledgers? That's a great question. And I just so happen to have some ideas. And there are what we call KPIs, or key performance indicators, that all you business people should be tracking. We have to start with the most important of all those stats, though. That is POT, or profit over time. Profit over time is the most important stat you should be tracking, hands down. It is arguably more important than actual net profit. Profit over time is going to tell you how many credits you are earning per minute during a given activity. So in theory, you can kind of apply this POT stat to any business venture, whether it's bounty hunting, mining, doesn't matter, whatever it is. But here we focus around the cargo hauling aspect. So keep in mind that a good, quote unquote, good POT and a C2 Hercules is vastly different from a Mercury Star Runner. Let me explain this a little bit more. In a C2, I consider a POT of earning about 4,500 to about 4,999 to be what I say, quote unquote, good. But my goal really in a C2 is to be earning just over 5,000 to just shy of 6,000 per minute. Again, that's per minute of an activity. However, in an MSR, I'm probably happy hitting that 800 credit per minute POT. And of course, this is understandable when the C2 can carry 696 SU of cargo, while the MSR maxes out at 114 SU. So your POT and what's considered good is going to vary depending on the size of your ship. That's why it's a good stat to really get a baseline on as soon as possible for each ship that you own. Next, of course, I'm going to lump together some of the basic ones: your gross profit, your gross expenses or cost, and net profit. These are all self-explanatory, but I'll breeze over them real quickly. Gross expenses is how much the cargo cost up front or your initial investment you had to pay for. Don't forget at the end of your cargo run to also add any repair or refueling costs in with your cargo costs, and that's going to keep your gross expenses very accurate. In a C2, you can, if you don't keep those extra costs in there, you can kind of lose track of anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 in repair and refueling costs. So some might argue that net profit is more important than POT, because let's face it, how much our bank accounts are growing, that's why we do what we do, right? Net profit is as simple as your gross profit minus your gross expenses. And hopefully this number is positive, which means your company's growing. But if it's negative, at least you've identified it and you can figure out why you're losing money. Next are a few stats that are more of our quality of life stats that will help you refine your flight plans and maximize profits. But these aren't necessarily must-haves when you're doing your stats in your books. First, let's go over RRT, or your route runtime. Your route runtime is going to help you track how long it takes you, or if you have employees, how long it tracks them to complete their route from buying to selling. The trick to RRT is to set a specific point where the clock starts and stops. For me personally, I suggest as soon as your ship lifts off the ground to start your clock, and stop it as soon as you walk up to the selling terminal. Quick way I like to say this real quickly is from takeoff to terminal. So it's consistent no matter the ship or the system that I'm traveling in. It'll always be captured the same way. I also like to track profit per commodity, or PPC for short. This stat is only really useful for cargo loads where you're carrying more than one commodity. So diamonds, gold, and laranite. This is a good stat to track on that one. In its simplest form, all PPC is the net profit for each commodity separately. That's all. And so, yeah, you could pretty much add up all your individual PPCs, and that will give you your total net profit for the entire run. And last, but certainly not least, is your profit margin. And in fact, this is probably my second favorite stat to track after POT. And I'm trying to go in this one a little bit more in detail because it's got a math involved. Profit margin is basically the percentage difference between your grosses, or your gross profit, divided by your revenue multiplied by 100. I know it sounds weird, but yeah, here, gross profit divided by revenue multiplied by 100. There's calculators. You can get a hold of them, no big deal. So you don't have to think about this yourself. So the lower your profit margins doesn't necessarily mean less profitability. What a higher profit margin does signal, however, is how much the activity of buying and selling that commodity is worth your time. And also, it's kind of an indicator or signal of your risk/reward. I know it might sound questionable when I say that profit margin indicates risk, but hear me out. The best way to explain profit margin and its importance is really to compare it to our net profit. Let's do an example. Laranite. Laranite's one of the most famous, silly commodities out there, and I hate it, but we'll go over it and I'll compare it. Laranite, regardless of the per unit price and regardless of its gross or net profits, trades consistently between 8 and 10% profit margins. All right. So regardless of how much it costs, I think it's like 27 or $2,700-ish per unit of SU. Doesn't matter. It's always going to trade and sell at about an 8 to 10% markup. So in order to fill an entire C2 with Laranite, you will have to fork up over 1.9 million credits up front of your own money up front. So if it sells at just a 10% higher than it costs, you're only going to be making just under 200,000. Realistically, you're looking at probably more accurately 190,000. But Sandy Claus, that's 200K profit. I only make 15,000 being a security guard for like blackjack. I get it. But life happens. You could walk away from that terminal after buying that cargo and have a heart attack. Or some solar flare wipes you out. Or some idiot in a Drake Cutlass crashes into the building and kills you, right? You never know what could hit you. And you're going to be out that 1.9 million right out the bat. Got to be careful when you put up upfront costs. It matters. So let's compare our Laranite to something like titanium. And if anybody's been following Bullish for a while, you know how much I really push titanium over Laranite. Titanium trades or sells closer to the 18 to 20% profit margin range. A fully loaded C2 will cost you roughly 550,000. See? You see the lower risk there than Laranite? Laranite, which couldn't cost you 1.9 million versus titanium, 550,000, right? So lower risk right there. And when you sell titanium, you should net, what I've seen in the past, roughly 100,000 to about 110,000 range. So half of what you would make with Laranite, but way less risk, right? Just over half what you would make, basically with Laranite. So to really summarize this, Laranite is what I like to call or label a high risk, low reward commodity, whereas titanium, I label it as a low risk, high reward commodity. And see, profit margin by itself is really an incomplete picture. And so later on in a few future shows that we're going to do, I'm gonna really dive into this and look at all the stats together, because that doesn't give you a complete picture. Profit margin alone, net profit. If you look at just net profit by itself, yeah, Laranite's better because you're making double. But when you start looking into like your upfront cost, your gross expenses, I don't know if it's worth forking up almost 2 million upfront. And then you start looking into your RRTs. How long is it going to take me to earn that money each time? So let's summarize real quick of all these stats. So overview. All right, quickly. Here we go. POT is how much you earn per minute doing something. RRT is how long it takes you to do that something. Profit margin tells you your reward potential versus its risk. Net profit is how much your bank grows or shrinks if you're not doing good. Followed by PPC, which helps tell you if it's worth buying a certain commodity over another. See, okay, so that's our first dive into getting you back onto your feet with a good foundation going forward. It's important to have these basics set from jump because later on, as your books grow, it's harder to go back to the basics. Next time here on Bullish, we will crack into a specific trade route and take a closer look at a particular commodity. This is your host, Santa Claus, here on Bullish, reminding you to take the market by the horns.